Good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. I have to confess that just a few short months ago, I had absolutely no idea about what kind of speech I would be making tonight. Would it be a speech of resolve where we had to prepare ourselves for a bitter and protracted onslaught that was both promised and predicted, steeling ourselves for a fight that could last for years with an uncertain outcome at best? Well, that certainly seemed likely during the closing days of the election, but something whispered, wait. And so I did. The gun controllers lost. And as we saw, for all the plans that were being made to fight the good fight, thankfully that strategy was sidetracked much quicker than anybody anticipated. We're profoundly grateful to those who so generously supported our gun vote, voter education, and registration efforts in so many ways during this election. And of course, the efforts of organizations such as the NRA were crucial to that victory. So now we look forward with new hope to a period in which we may breathe a bit easier. Sir Winston Churchill spoke of another time of hope amid conflict. He said, "A wonderful story is unfolding before our very eyes. How it will end, we're not allowed to know. But we all feel that we're a part of it, and that our future, and the future of many generations, is at stake. We're sure that the character of our society will be shaped by the resolves that we take and the deeds that we do." Our overriding hope is that when it comes to helping stop the misuse of firearms by criminals and preventing access to them by legally prohibited felons, the violently mentally ill, and the drug gangs who terrorize disarmed inhabitants of our cities, the American public will realize we're all on the same side. I certainly can't list all of our hopes for the coming year, so let me outline just a few. We hope that the parade of newcomers to the lawful and responsible enjoyment of hunting and the shooting sports will continue, as it has for the past 8 years. We welcome the widest possible inclusion of all American citizens, of all races, nationalities, and orientations, regardless of whether they live in the city, the suburbs, or the countryside, to come and join our ranks. And we hope that all of you will help encourage and welcome these newcomers, for they too are the faces of America's future. We hope that our fellow citizens who, like us, are appalled at violent crime will heed our call. Law-abiding firearms owners and our industry are not the enemy. Support what works, regardless of the source. We know the messages that resonate with firearms owners and which will promote responsible and safe ownership and use of firearms. And we, all of us, yes, the members of America's firearms industry, we are the ones with effective programs and policies that actually work to stop firearms misuse without trampling on the rights of the law-abiding. We've got to come together and be smart in curbing firearms misuse, not just stake out a political position that further divides us, or to just do something proposed out of fear and ignorance of firearms and their lawful owners, which won't prevent tragedies. A good example of something that works is the NSSF's Project Child Safe. We've furnished over 37 million free gun safety locks to over 15,000 communities nationwide, and we've seen fatal firearms accidents plummet 24% during the last 10 years. This deserves additional support. Great result. This deserves initial support and federal funding because we can always do so much more by working together with our government. We hope that our new suicide prevention efforts can help stem this terrible waste of lives, including those of our veterans, and will help open the eyes of some in the mental health community that they should be our allies rather than demonizing the firearms industry and firearms owners. We hope that violence prevention efforts focus on all types of violent acts, not just those involving guns, because misnaming this kind of action as gun violence distracts from the actors, their motivation, and their conduct, and wrongly focuses on the tools that are misused. That's not the way to change behavior. We're hopeful that the misuses of firearms and violent crime, accidents, and suicides continue to drop, as they have during the last decade, even as more and more law-abiding citizens purchase firearms in record numbers. We hope that those who claim that their goal is to just save one life recognize that all lives saved are to be treasured, and that includes lives saved by armed self-defense. We also hope that violent crimes committed by criminals with illegally owned firearms will stop being considered by some to be a public health issue. Crime is a criminal justice issue, and it should be treated as such. And that small number of repeat violent criminals that have caused senseless carnage on the streets of some of our cities should face stiff prison sentences by enforcing the thousands of laws already on the books. Project Exile, which mandated strict penalties for criminals who were found to be supplying or carrying illegal guns on city streets, successfully lowered the homicide rate in those cities when it was in effect. So let's hope that big city mayors plagued by staggering instances of violent crime consider that common sense approach. Because we also hope that the failed philosophy of placing ever more restrictions on the law-abiding in the vain hope of controlling the lawless will assume its rightful place in the dustbin of history. And as we've seen, support for stricter gun controls is in fact on the wane. We hope that judges nominated and confirmed to serve on federal courts at all levels affirm that the Heller and McDonald cases are accepted law, and that the U.S. Constitution recognizes the fundamental individual right of law-abiding citizens of this great nation to keep and bear arms. And that the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, as Bob mentioned, which prohibits senseless lawsuits based on intentional criminal misuse of lawfully sold, non-defective products, which no industry could survive, continues to be recognized as settled law to dismiss any such claims. We hope that, as a highly regulated industry, our relationship with our regulators, such as the ATF and the State Department, will be that of mutual respect and cooperation, and that some of the rather puzzling and contorted interpretations of laws and regulations will be rescinded. We look forward to working with them to help stop burglaries and thefts from FFLs. And we also hope that ATF receives additional federal funding to do its important job by reducing bureaucratic backloads for retailers and your customers. We hope that executive orders that ban the imports of older firearms for lawful purposes will be withdrawn, and that the control of the export of firearms and ammunition be transferred from the State Department to the Commerce Department, just like every other category of exports. Another hope is that international treaties and protocols respect the natural right of people everywhere to self-defense, and that the United States will steadfastly oppose the ongoing attempts of some nations and disarmament groups to deprive honorable citizens of their rights in the name of controlling the lawless elements of other nations. We hope that conservation efforts, supported largely by excise taxes of firearms and ammunition, which our industry willingly pays, will be based solely upon sound science and their effects on species populations, and that federal lands which belong to all the people will be kept open for all appropriate outdoor recreational activities, which include hunting and recreational shooting. And personally, I hope for the passage of the Hearing Protection Act. Both as a public service to hold down the noise and not disturb our neighbors near shooting ranges, but also to help preserve what little hearing I have left. And finally, we hope that the unity our industry has shown during these hard times will continue, even in the face of half-truths, slander, bias, and fearfulness. And we'll continue to work together, not just in times of peril, but in recognition that our cause is right and true and enshrined by the drafters of the U.S. Constitution. And by doing this, we can turn our hopes into reality. We have to put aside whatever differences we may have had and look forward, not backward. We've been through this before, and we've become unified during the worst of times. And my very best hope is that we stay unified in the better days that look like they're coming for this industry ahead. Now, make no mistake, there remain many who, for their own reasons and personal feelings and experiences, are still of the belief that firearms manufacturers, sellers, and owners are not entitled to our beliefs, our livelihoods, or our way of life, which differ very much from their own. So we can never be complacent. Their will is determined, and their resources are enormous. And when their side lost this election, they bristled at that opportunity which they thought just had struck from their hands. So it's in times of peace when we have to allocate our resources to prepare for that next battle, whenever it may come. If those who are immovably against us choose to fight us, we'll be ready. But I hope that the measures I've outlined tonight and our many outreach efforts will strike enough of a chord with the American public to command their attention. We know all won't agree, but we ask those who are sincere in the dual goals of protecting the constitutional rights of all Americans and making America a safer place to live will join us and at least give us a chance to show how we can help and how we are succeeding right now. Let's renew our determination, our courage, and our hope for the future. For it's upon us to demonstrate to a divided and anxious nation that ours is indeed the best way ahead. It's long past time that the many contributions to the safety of our nation that this industry proposes and implements are recognized and supported. And I know that if we act with fairness, in a spirit of inclusion, then our hope for better days for our industry, our customers, and the general public will surely be fulfilled. To do this, we need and sincerely appreciate your help and support. Now is the time to make things that we hope for happen for the benefit of our industry, our customers, and for all the American people. Thank you very much.